remember that Systems for Self-Care will be launching soon. I'm really, really excited for it. I'll have more details as they are getting put into place. But let's get started with today's question. Super excited for this one. The question is, how can I get myself to follow through? I start something and I'm all excited and motivated, and then a few weeks go by and I just don't want to do it anymore. I like you guys, like I'm an expert at this. Like, oh wow, if I have finally found my calling on what I can teach and help people with, it is I mean like years and decades have gone by of me starting and stopping crap, starting and stopping, starting and stopping, starting and being all excited. This is it. This is the one. I'm gonna change my life with this thing, and that motivation, that over the top enthusiasm and excitement lasts for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a couple of days, and then it's gone, and you're just like, oh, crap, like I'm back here again. How, like, what do I do? Why does this keep happening? This used to happen for me all the time when it came to food, when it came to diet and exercise. And like that's like I think that that's the thing, is when you get to that place where you're like, I'm not following through with anything, I must need a lot more discipline. I must need something more extreme. And I know that's why I turned to something like Whole30. I know that with exercise, man, I'm not following through with this. I need something that's even more extreme. That's why I did a 100-day running streak. That's why I decided to sign up for a marathon after only have ever done a 5K, right? So it was all of that starting and stopping and thinking, I just need to do something extreme and that's going to whip me into shape. And please, please, if you hear anything, I am not saying to turn to that, because all that happens with that is you are extreme for the 30 days, you're extreme for the 100-day running, the 100 days, you're extreme for the 18 weeks of marathon training, and then you fall flat on your face again, and you're right back at zero again. So you probably have your own version of doing something like this. We all do. Like, can we just start off with that? Like, we all do. This is not just you. We've all done something like this. But let me teach you what has worked for me, what is working with my clients, for my clients, and I want this to work for you too, so that you stop being that person that's starting and stopping all the time, and you become and you live that life of just being the person that follows through with things, being the person that shows up for themselves, being the person that, you can trust yourself, and you can kind of move past this. So like these healthy things that you're doing, like you have a system. If you want to start something new or you want to change something, you have a system to actually do that. So let's start with, I start and stop. How can I get myself to follow through? Okay, cool. Let's just imagine that when we're talking about this, you're not talking about something super extreme like Whole30 or keto, or I would even say like counting calories and macros. Like if you're doing something extreme like that, like, oh no, I don't. Good luck. Part of the reason you're not following through is because it's not sustainable, or even something like a 100-day running streak, or like it's not sustainable. This message is for people who are like, cool, you're on this level that you're looking for something that's actually sustainable, and you're not going over the top extreme, but you're like, well, how do I actually make like something sustainable or moderate actually for me? So that's what I'm talking about. Let's make that clarification. Okay, so you start and stop. So let's pretend you're walking through your day and you have this moderate kind thing, something that you would be okay with a 5-year-old, a daughter, a niece, or sibling, whatever, a young female in your life actually attempting as well. Moderate thing, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through and let's use the example of like healthy eating. And we're going to actually go through this with a couple of other examples too. So listen for that old self-talk. You're so excited to be a healthy eater for the first week or the second week, right? And then there's that old self-talk that's popping up. It'll usually sound something like, you don't really have to do this. I know you said that you were going to eat healthy today, but you don't really have to do this. It's just go and get the pizza and fries and burgers. It's not that big of a deal. That's what some old self-talk sounds like. Or it might even be something even meaner, like, you thought this was going to work for you? Like, are you kidding me? Look at you. You suck. Like, you never follow through with things, right? Listen for that old self-talk, because it's going to pop up. When you are changing who you are being, when you're changing your habits, you're changing who you're being, that old self-talk is going to pop up. listen for it. That old self-talk is trying to sabotage you and keep you back even if where you're at is dysfunctional. It's trying to keep you the same. So how do you get yourself to follow through? Listen for that old self-talk. Listen for when you say things like, oh, it's okay. It's like, oh, shoot, Jacqueline said that was going to pop up. Interesting. That is popping up. I'm saying, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, cool. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to connect back to your aspirational identity, and you're going to focus on the journey and not the destination. So aspirational identity is all about who you're being day to day, not waiting for happiness or success until you arrive, but like, who are you being? Who are you showing up as? So when old self-talk is like, you don't really have to do that thing, you're like, oh shoot, but like aspirational identity is the type of person who joyfully and consistently eats healthy meals. So even though I have the option to eat 10 slices of pizza, I'm not going to, because I am the person who joyfully and consistently eats healthy. So I'm going to choose 2 slices of pizza and a salad, and that's going to be good. And that follows, that's the journey that you want, that moderate, healthy, right? Nothing extreme. It's about the journey, being the person that you want to be, not waiting, and not thinking that that you have to be, that you can only be happy or successful once you arrive to that destination. This next part, I think this is huge too, though. Remember, everyone gets bored. I know I said I was gonna eat, salads with pizza, but I really don't want to. I really just want to eat pizza and French fries and all. I just want to eat all of those fun things. Everyone gets bored, like everyone. Oh, it's kind of monotonous. I'm feeling that a lot right now during the pandemic. It's really monotonous. It's really tedious. I just want things to be back to normal. Actually, fine. You're okay. Like boredom you will be fine. You can sustain this boredom, and so we have to remember that the successful ones push through the boredom. Okay, fine. The salad's not all that exciting. How can I make it somewhat exciting? I can add some croutons to it. I can change up the salad dressing. I can add some fun, a different, just add it, make it exciting. I also suggest adding music to anything you are doing. Adding music puts me in such a better mood. So when I have to push through that thing that's a little bored, it's boring. It's boring. Adding music makes it enjoyable. It makes it attractive. Number 4, stop thinking that motivation is enthusiasm. So how can I get myself to follow through? You're like, I'm just not really that excited about this thing anymore. I'm not that enthusiastic about this anymore. Yeah, that's like that boredom thing. Yeah, I'm not really all that excited to eat a salad. Okay, but like it's the aspirational identity. It's like that's just kind of like what you do. Healthy eaters that they do the thing even if they're like super excited to or not. And truthfully, like I'm not the type of person who's like jumping off the walls, super excited, enthusiastic about doing things, but I still show up and do the thing. Number 5. So instead of thinking of motivation as enthusiasm or like jumping off the walls excitement, let's start thinking of motivation as the 2 big motivating factors. Think of motivation as pain, pleasure. So when you're like, I'm not really that excited to do this, pain, pleasure. Wait, Jacqueline said, think about that. Okay, what is the pain that I'm moving away from? Well, every time I eat 10 slices of pizza, I feel sluggish, I feel gross, I feel disappointed in myself. What's the pleasure that I'm moving towards? Oh, okay, cool. Every time that I have a salad with 2 slices of pizza, I feel good in my body. I feel energized. I feel satisfied with myself. I feel pleased with there's not that guilt. I have that guilt and like shame when I, don't follow through with things. I can start thinking of like, I get to feel satisfied with myself. All of that mean self-talk just vanishes because I did the thing, right? So start thinking of pain, pleasure. The next thing, number 6, how do you get yourself to follow through? Make sure that it's attractive. So we talked about the music a little bit, but like, it does not have to be the most boring thing in the world. When we talk about healthy eating, if you're sitting there and you're trying to eat like bland chicken breast with, like baby carrots and there's nothing fun, make it attractive, liven it up, like make healthy eating fun, step by step, have a step-by-step plan, like using the 5 Ps to build your plate. The next thing, number 7, use the morning self-care session and the mindset direction cards. So I have the self-care session. The self-care session is just taking time in the morning, to do things that feel good, taking time in the morning to be with yourself. the mindset direction card, these are basically journal prompts. So I'm going to give you 2 journal prompts that are going to be really helpful. You can screenshot this, you can write it down. But the first one is this. Is this the first time, or has this been a recurring theme of your life? You know, I always get to this point where I'm kind of bored. I don't really want to do this anymore. How can I get myself to follow through? Notice, does this happen all the time? So that's one way. And this one kind of similar, but a little different. We all have habitual places that we stop. Where do you stop? Oh, you know, it's always like 8 days into me eating healthy, or it's always like Thursday of the week of me eating healthy that I stop and say, F it. Interesting that we've arrived to a Thursday and I no longer want to do this, right? So notice those things. Take that time in the morning to be like, okay, cool. I'm noticing a pattern that I'm always falling into. And that's how you're going to get yourself out of that pattern and starting a new pattern. Start creating a new neural pathway in your head. Start creating a new way of doing things, a new way of being. So what I want to do, so I just went through and I talked about healthy eating. I know some of you are building online businesses, or you've been talking about writing blogs or building content, making podcasts, right? I want to go through that today because this was a big struggle for me. The podcast, I started it in 2017 at the end of the year. That was so exciting. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting to start a new project. And then reality set in 2018, especially because we were traveling a lot. It's like, oh shoot, like this isn't all that fun and exciting and glamorous anymore. You get a lot of external praise when you launch that first episode, and then it's just kind of monotonous and it's kind of tedious, and no one's handing you money when you're starting a podcast. Like it's not like a job where people are just handing you money. So it's like you have to do the reps even though there is no immediate gratification. There's nothing. No one pays me episodes. No one pays me to create episodes. No one pays me to create content. So it's like, why am I even doing this? And right? And then I would get into my head about like, oh, it's not good enough. This is crap. And so like the podcast was a struggle, like a huge struggle for a lot of 2018 and 2019. It was like I was getting episodes out, but they were very sporadic, not very consistent. 2020, the podcast was on hiatus for the first part of the year. And then I finally created a system for getting them out. And then even today, like I've been running through the podcast for probably about 3 weeks now that I've been creating these episodes and putting up content on the podcast, on my Facebook, on my Instagram, getting it to people, getting this message to people. But there is still like this stuff that I'm talking about. These are things that this applies to people who are working on healthy eating. This applies to people who are working on running. This applies to anything. Anytime you start to change something in your life, anytime you are starting to create a new habit, these things are going to pop up. So I'm going to go through, like, let's say for creating content, right? I keep starting and stopping. How can I actually get myself to follow through? It was so exciting to start the new blog, but I'm not following through with it. It was so exciting. How do I actually get myself to follow through? Listen for old self-talk. So my old self-talk was like, this isn't good enough. This is crap. And also, you don't really have to do this. No one's actually listening. No one's actually watching. This is really stupid. You're embarrassing yourself, right? Cool. If I listen to that self-talk, guess what? I'm not going to create anything. I'm not going to put anything out there, right? Okay, cool. Connect back to your aspirational identity. My aspirational identity is the type of person who joyfully and consistently shows up in her business. Steal that. If you're working on an online business, a podcast, blog, if you are working on healthy eating, you are working on running, whatever, steal the aspirational identity of being the person who joyfully and consistently shows up. So connect back to that. So when the option to not create something comes up, that option is always there, right? There's no one slapping me on the wrist or firing me if I don't show up. I have to be the one that's like, well, actually, this is your aspirational identity. You got to follow through. You got to focus on following through. And the journey, it's rep by rep. Every healthy meal, every podcast, every run, it's rep by rep. And so, by the way, this popped up today. I was like, oh, it's late. You worked hard. You worked hard today. You had a lot going on. It's okay. You don't have to, right? Listen to that old self-talk. If you listen to that old self-talk, then you don't do the thing, and you're doing the opposite of your aspirational identity. Number 3, remember, everyone gets bored with the successful ones. Push through the boredom. Yeah, it was like a little boring. Like, oh gosh, my husband's doing something fun and I have to like go away to go do a little work. Yeah, that kind of sucks for a second. And then guess what? I put on music and I'm with my pup and I have fun markers and I'm doing something to add some excitement to the thing that feels monotonous, and it's not so bad. It's not so boring as that little kid voice. Oh, this is so no, it's fine. Calm down. Calm down, Jacqueline. Number 4, stop thinking that motivation equals enthusiasm. Yeah, I know my natural self is not enthusiastic and excited and bouncing off the walls, right? So I don't have to be like, man, like it's not always going to be like that first time you put out the podcast or the blog. That first one's super exciting, so much external praise for that, and then it's not really. And don't get me wrong, I love creating content and I love connecting with you guys. And I love being able to help, but like it's okay. It's normal that there isn't that surge of excitement every time, like on the first one. Start thinking about pain, pleasure. Yeah, pain. I want to stop feeling disappointed in myself. I want to stop feeling guilty. I want to stop feeling shame. I want to stop feeling like I'm stuck. Pleasure. I want to move towards feeling consistent. I want to feel satisfied with myself. I want to feel good about myself. I want to know, this is like a big, connects back to aspirational identity. I want to know that my life has purpose and that my life is more than just bullshitting. And so part of the way that I make sure that my life has purpose is by creating content, because when I create content, it gets out to people and that helps them in their lives. Otherwise, I just stay and don't do anything. That's not so fun. So pain, pleasure is a big thing. Make it attractive. I talked about playing music. Make it step by step. If you do not have a step by step thing, when you are stuck, you need a step by step thing. So even for creating content, like I have it up here, like it says like, look at question. So a few weeks ago, I had asked for a survey. I asked, what questions do people have? I have all of them on a spreadsheet. I have look at question, make quick notes, make a chart, record in the group, download it. Like this is written out step by step. That takes away the guesswork. That takes away like, oh, what am I supposed to do? No, it's easy. It's written out. So use that. Make it step by step. And then the last thing, use the morning self-care session and mindset direction cards. So, if I'm taking that time for myself in the morning and I'm like, man, I keep tripping up. I keep not following through. Again, is this the first time or is this a recurring theme of your life? And for me, that's a recurring theme. Yes, I do that all the time. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this thing. Oh shoot, the novelty is worn off. I don't want to do this anymore. I think we all do that. We all have habitual places that we stop. Where do you stop? Figure it out. Go into your mind. This is a mindset direction card, so it's a two-for thing. One, it's like directions. I tell you what's right, but also this is going to shift your mindset. It is going to shift the way you are thinking about things. So when I write that, like, is this the first time or is this a recurring theme? Yeah, this is a recurring theme. Okay, cool. What are you going to do about it then? Do you want this to be the recurring theme of your life? No, I don't really. I would like to change that. Okay, cool. Here's your time to act. Here's your time to do something. The hard thing about behavior change is it's those small moments, those small habits, those small reps, the attendance. Like one day, it doesn't have that big of an impact. One doesn't. But the problem is that mindset of like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, right, but like one day doesn't matter. But if one day is every day, or if one day is every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, goodness, weekends make up 28% of our lives, 28% of the week, 28% of life. So it's like every time that you're not doing the thing and you're not getting your rep in and you're not showing up, you're kind of voting for the opposite of your aspirational identity. You're voting for the old self. So it's like every time you show up and do the thing, that is a vote, that is a rep towards being that person. From Atomic Habits. make sure I credit James Clear. But yeah, so how can I get myself to follow through? Remember, it is not just you. People struggle with this. And I think that it's like, okay, cool, I'm normal. This is something that other people struggle with as well. But also, just because other people struggle with it doesn't mean that I also have to stay stuck. I can move forward. It's gonna take diving in a little bit deeper than just doing this surface level stuff. Again, like the step-by-step plan is so helpful and wonderful, but if you don't dive in and see what's going on here, the plan just stays sitting there on the shelf and you don't ever actually use it. So dive a little bit deeper, dig a little bit deeper, see what's actually going on with your self-talk, do the mindset work, do the morning self-care session. I don't know how you change your life unless you take that time for yourself in the morning. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if that helps you get going. If you're still struggling with this, definitely click below. You can comment, or you can always send me an email at coachjacqueline@jacquelinericcio.com. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.